So I have some very interesting news, but also a confession by Republicans at the end that should definitely give us some foreshadowing. The hands-off protests around the country were immensely successful, and a lot of them were in deep red states and red districts. There were counties that overwhelmingly voted for Trump where 30% of the population turned out for this protest. And as journalists were sent out around the country to talk to the people at these protests, most of them were saying similar things. They said, the tariffs are killing my 401k. Now, as a short little segue here, I saw a video that somebody sent me yesterday from a dumb MAGA page where they were showing a propaganda video that's being shown on some independent news sources. A propaganda video talking about how great tariffs are and how they're great for bringing in revenue to the country. And the comment section is just full of gullible rubes. People who think this is all part of Trump's master plan to make them all rich. And it's just sad to see so many people completely cheering on this authoritarian regime while they lose all of their own money. And these people at these protests understood that because most of them were saying, I'm worried mostly about my Social Security and my 401k. One of the people said, my dad just lost about a quarter of his savings in the last 3 days. I can attest to being in a similar situation. A lot of them were talking about Muskrat, saying it's kind of strange that a person who wasn't born here and wasn't elected seems to be able to do whatever he wants to the government. And this was one of the largest protests ever seen across the nation. And all because Dumpy and Muskrat decided to destroy the government, tank the economy, ruin people's Social Security, and ruin their 401k. To the point where even the people on Wall Street are saying, yeah, we're headed for a recession and it's pretty inevitable at this point. And when it happens, that's when we need to go for the throat. Because out of all people, I thought it was very interesting that we hadn't heard anything from Ted Cruz in a while. And he openly confessed that if these tariffs cause a recession, which again, they will, the midterms are going to be an absolute bloodbath against Republicans. I hate to say this, but for once in my life, I agree with Ted Cruz. Unfortunately, the people in this country are so fickle and aloof that they keep going back and forth of where they will vote for somebody who wants actual change like Obama, and then millions of them will suddenly switch to Trump who just wants to burn the country down. But if they continue tanking the economy and put us into a recession, yeah, the midterms are going to be horrible for them. And most of them already know this. And even though Trump has already confessed on Turd Social that this is the time he wants rich people to buy up stocks because now they're really cheap because he's crashing it, that doesn't really matter to the people in Congress who only care about keeping their seat. And with millions of people turning out across the country pissed off about this, if we keep the momentum going and we focus on local elections, we will absolutely kick the shit out of them in 2026. And all of these millions of people who came out to these protests need to start focusing on their candidates now.